If Jorah Mormont has no haters, then I'm not living on this earth anymore. But just because I hate that stalker of every high school girls volleyball team doesn't mean that the other members of House Mormont aren't cool. So let's break down House Mormont as I cover more of the houses of Westeros and talk about not only the cool people that we know from the TV show, but also all the cool women that were cut from the damn show. In the books, House Mormont are literally known as the She-Bears because they're all women. They're all women warriors. But shocking, the TV show cuts them. Anyway, we'll talk about them in just a moment here. So starting off the bat, we don't know a ton about House Mormont and their origins. They're a very old house that lives in Bear Island, an island to the northwest of Westeros, kind of near where like the Ironborn are. So they've always kind of worried about the Ironborn kind of fighting them. And then we'll get to that in a little bit as well. But let's start off with their banner here. So House Mormont, yes, their banner is a black bear on a green field with their words being "Here we stand." You do. There you are. Not the best words, but you know, I like green and a black bear. You know, I don't mind bears. That is my truth for the evening. Black bears, not a problem with that either. Hey. But as I said earlier, the Mormonts, they rule Bear Island, which is kind of like a desolate island in the northwest of Westeros. It doesn't have a lot of like resources. There's lots of timber, I think, but otherwise they're kind of a poorer house. And even the way that they purportedly got the house, we find out from Bran in, I think it's Bran 7 in the Game of Thrones. He is walking through the catacombs where all like the kings of winter are buried with Osha and Maester Luwin. And Maester Luwin is like prompting Bran, like, hey, tell Osha about like the different kings and what they're famous for. And one of them he stops by, and it's a king named Roderick Stark. And he says that Roderick Stark beat someone in like a wrestling match, and then won Bear Island from the person, and then just gave it to the Mormonts. So like, cool, great, like not maybe not the best real estate, but hey, free real estate, I guess we'll take it. We're lords now. But as I mentioned before, unfortunately, because of their location, they are kind of isolated from most of the north because they are an island, and because they are an island and they're not too far from the Ironborn, they are susceptible to Ironborn attacks all the time. Which is what in turn has made them one of the more unique houses, not only in the north but in Westeros, because they train their women exactly like they train their men. They're very much like Dorne in this respect, where like the women are kind of treated equally to the men, and it's kind of cool. Though sadly, it's more of like out of necessity because the Ironborn are such a threat. They literally need just like every man, woman, and child like on the island to be prepped to fight at any moment and to be competent when it comes time to do so. Anyway, as I've said, it's kind of created this like very interesting culture where like just the women are very much like on par and treated just the same as the men, which anytime the North kind of gathers together, as they do at the end of a Game of Thrones, you're kind of like, oh, you're kind of thrown off by the fact that like, oh, there's like women who are in charge here when the Mormonts show up. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So let's set up the modern day Mormonts and how they kind of came to be in the situations that they are. So the old Lord of Bear Island was Jorah Mormont right here, and he seems to have very kindly, basically, before his time was up, he decided that he was going to join the Night's Watch so that he could help them, and thus allow his son, Jorah, to become the Lord a lot earlier than he would have if he had to wait for, Jorah to die. Now, I don't think we know exactly when Jorah would have joined the Night's Watch, but we do believe it would have been like sometime before Robert's Rebellion. Because I think he was like there before Alliser Thorne was there, and Alliser Thorne gets there after Jorah Mormont does. But anyway, so at that point, we have Jorah Mormont, who is now the Lord of Bear Island, and he has had some tragedy in his life. So he started off being married. He was like betrothed pretty young to a Glover, just a daughter of House Glover. They were married for like 10 years, but were never able to have children. And it was during I think the attempted third birth of a child that his wife passed away. I think around the same time Robert's Rebellion would occur, Jorah would join with all the other northern houses in rebelling against the Targaryens, distinguish himself well, go back home, and he's doing dandy. And then when the Greyjoy Rebellion happens just a couple years later, Jorah would again join and again do a very good job, at this point being like so impressive that he's actually knighted by Robert Baratheon. I think it's by Robert Baratheon. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then after this, he decides to join the tourney at Lannisport, which is a tourney that's being held in celebration of the fact that they kicked the Greyjoys' butts. And it is there that he ends up winning the whole tourney, and then he sees a very pretty Hightower woman named Lyness Hightower. He names her the Queen of Love and Beauty, and then because he's like on top of the world, he asks her father if he could marry her. The father agrees, and oh yay, wonderful. Now, of course, it doesn't end well because she, is used to being in the rich, warm city, and then he takes her to Poor Bear Island, and well, yeah. Anyway, we know he eventually poachers. He has to flee, and then his wife is like, "I don't want to be with you while we're both poor," so she ends up fleeing him, and it's a whole thing. We've talked about it before. It's fine. Anyway, over here you have Lyanna Mormont. Now, she is in the books, but she is the youngest of 5 children, and she has older siblings and her mother all alive, so she is not quite the lady of Bear Island at the moment. Well, actually, she's like the acting lady, because I think she's the only one who was left at Bear Island while all the other women came to support Robb Stark during the War of the Five Kings. But she is very young. We do not see her in the main series, except for one letter that she sends to Stannis when Stannis asks for Bear Island to like come assist him. She just responds that like, we don't recognize anyone but like the King of the North, whose name is Stark. You go, girl. But we do see a lot of her mother and her older sister, so let's talk about them, because I love the she-bears. Meet some of the she-bears, okay? There was an art for all of them. But there is Mage Mormont, and then you have 5 children. You have Daisy, you have Alysanne, and then you have another Lyanna Mormont art down here. Now, there's also 2 that are older than Lyanna, but younger than the other 2. Their names are Lyra and Jor-El. We don't see them as much. They're on the younger side, but they are like around. But these three are the main ones, and we love them. So Mage Mormont, like I said, because all the women on Bear Island are trained up as warriors, she is a warrior in her own right. She goes around and she just bashes people in the head, and it's fucking incredible. Now, she is Jeor Mormont's sister, and so when Jorah, dishonors himself and flees, that left basically, Jeor's already part of the Night's Watch, so he's not going to get, like, the title back, so the next person in line is Mage over here. Now, what's very interesting about Mage is we don't actually know if she's married or not, and we don't know who the father of all of her daughters are. But she rules Bear Island as Mage Mormont in her own right, and all of her children are named Mormont, which is, again, just, like, not the normal convention, because you would expect, like, their father's last name. So we don't actually know if they are like bastards themselves, if they were like born out of wedlock, and Mage just doesn't care, and Bear Island just doesn't care because they're not, she decides that they are legitimate, I guess. Though George has also pointed out, when someone asked him about this, that, like, that isn't the only possibility, even though he's not elaborating, but there is also the possibility that, like, if she married someone who was from, like, a nobility that was, like, kind of lower in status than her, or, like, not noble at all, she can just choose to have the kids keep her name since that's, like, the biggest house. Either way, though, the fact that, like, she's just in charge, she doesn't have a man, she doesn't care to, like, point to who that man, like, is or isn't or whatever, it's very interesting, and it's such like a different like cultural dynamic than we've kind of gotten used to. And so because she only has daughters, her daughters are her heir, or one of her daughters is her heir, Daisy over here. So Daisy, again, another amazing warrior. She's great. She fights alongside Robb during the War of the Five Kings. It's awesome. Unfortunately, though, when it comes to the Red Wedding, she is the only one that ends up being in attendance. Robb sends Mage somewhere. I do not remember where, because remember, after the Red Wedding, he was planning to like head back up north and like retake Winterfell, and so I think he sends Mage on some kind of like mission to like prep that. And it's at that point that I think Mage takes the 2 younger daughters that she had with her, and they like stay together. She might have taken Alysanne too, because I don't remember where Alysanne was, because she wasn't at the Red Wedding, I don't think. But anyway, Daisy does go to the Red Wedding, and unfortunately she does get Red Weddinged, and it is very sad when we lose her. It's tragic. It's okay, because we have another heir, and Alysanne Mormont over here, and she is a badass in her own right. She ends up retaking Deepwood Motte from the Ironborn and Asha Greyjoy, and becomes her, like, jailer. And I'm running out of time, so, like, if you want me to talk about That's a Whole Cut storyline from the TV show with Asha Greyjoy and Alysanne Mormont, I'll be happy to tell it. Okay, good night, you're all also